All right, what is going on, people? It is good to have you back on board. Another episode of Unfiltered right here and right now. This will officially go down in your scorecard. This is episode number 309. You could jump on board 24/7, 365. It is easy. Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcasts. Of course, you could also get to the artist formerly known as Twitter, X, if you will. Give me a follow at Casey Stern. Jump up into the bio, and then you could follow through to our Instagram and our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and comment on all of the videos, the interviews, analysis, and more. Over 300 episodes deep over there. Both you can find at Unfiltered with Casey Stern. And don't forget, new pod is up and out. Believe in Mets. First episode a week ago. My buddy Jim Duquette. Next one is coming up here in just a few days. So get over and follow and subscribe everywhere you get your podcast to that as well. As we await the unveiling coming up on Sunday of the reserves, want to get a little bit into the starters on the All-Star side, some comments there, talk about what is going on with the slide with the Yankees, and a couple of comments on the Red Sox, specifically on Jarren Duran. All of that coming up here. You could comment along the way and questions and thoughts on anything that we've got on the podcast. So bring those as you go. Of course, we go here thanks in large part to our good friends at Bet Online, your number one source for all of your sports betting needs this season. Baseball, golf, soccer, all the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing as well. They got every stat, every matchup, live odds and spreads, all while the games are being played. Then when it's over, head over to the online casino and get a game of blackjack or poker. Unwind with over 150 different slot games as well. It's simple. Get over the website today. Get in on the action. Use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. You'll get a 50% free bet credit on your first deposit for up to $250. It is Bet Online. The game starts here, and we start here with one of the bigger stories in Major League Baseball, and that is what in the hell is going on with the New York Yankees. And they're playing currently, as I do this here on a Saturday, but I want to kind of give a little bit of an overview. They lost 15 out of 20. They start 49-21, the best record in the league at the time. Since then, it's been a mess. Clay Holmes obviously dropping most recently. Now they're 1-6 in extra inning games, by the way. Also during the course of the season, lost a ton of games to the Red Sox during this stretch, including most recently coming up in the game that just happened on Friday night yesterday as I do this podcast. Ironically, they've been kind of polar opposites of what the Red Sox have done. Alex Cora and company are thriving. They're in a wild card spot now. They've won 15 out of their last 20. Everyone has commented. Everyone has seen what's gone on. And, outside of what Aaron Judge has done, everybody else seems to have faltered. Is Cole comfortable enough? Is it because of the injury you're not feeling comfortable? What about his performance? What about Heel, who had been brilliant, having some hiccups? And what about all the hiccups, including recently in the outfield, where it seems like your center fielder doesn't really give a crap of what's going on and allows runners to advance bases? Everybody hanging their heads. Anthony Volpe saying yesterday after the game on Friday that, quote, the only way he could put a word on what they're feeling currently is brutal. And it's been brutal. And he said afterwards, and he's right, they expect to win and they played to win. And the expectations of the Yankees people are always different. They're always going to be at a higher level. You're always going to be in a different frame of mind if you're playing for the Yankees and if you're managing the New York Yankees. And a lot has come down on Booney during this because people have waited. They wanted, people wanted Brian Cashman out. They wanted Cash out. They wanted Aaron Boone out. They wanted changes to be made. And then suddenly here was the team, and they stuck together, and they had Juan Soto. And even without Garrett Cole, they're off to this brilliant start. And I've said this here on the podcast, and I'm not alone, look like the best version and the most World Series ready version of the Yankees that we've seen in many, many years. So everything was fine. Everything hunky-dory. But it's not easy to be the manager of the New York Yankees. There is always going to be a level of expectation when you're the manager of the Yankees that is different. It's like being, the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. There aren't that many Montreal Canadiens. If you're a hockey fan living up north of the border, there are not many comps you can make coach of the Lakers. Now, certainly another one if you want to throw it in there. But this is not about, or solely about, because it's always involving the manager. They're always at the helm. But this isn't really about Aaron Boone. This is about everybody on the team. This is about leadership in the room. And this is about stopping the bleeding. The thing about a baseball season, it is long enough that you can have the highs to the ultimate, to the pinnacle. You can have the lows where you feel like you're below ground. but it's about when you hit the one in the middle and you don't let either get you. It's that balance of getting to the postseason and winning a title when you get to October, being in the best spot, which means winning a division. Now they're 3 games out behind the Orioles. Certainly not in the best spot, but there's plenty of time. So the thing the Yankees need to do is win a game, quiet the noise, and take one step at a time. The idea that like people are like, oh, Aaron Boone's got to go. They're not getting rid of Aaron Boone. I'll come back on here and eat all the words and let Woods eat crow, whatever. They're not getting rid of Aaron Boone in the middle of the season. This is a team that was 49-21 before going back 3.5 weeks ago. That's not going to happen, and that's not going to solve anything. Somebody new going to come in, oh, well, now everything's fine. It doesn't work that way. There's not going to be a managerial change in the middle of the year with this team, and it wouldn't fix it even if there was. What will fix it is a win. What will fix it is a small step forward. What will fix it is some damage control and stopping the bleeding. There's that old saying of what comes first, the chicken before the egg. And in baseball terms, it's winning or chemistry. Do you win because your chemistry is great, or do you have great chemistry because you win? And it's a little bit of both. And for this Yankee team right now, they need to show off that chemistry, stay together, hold down the fort, and just get a couple of W's. It is not the end of the world, even though I know it may feel like it is. Also, not the end of the world to have in today's day and age, and not speaking as somebody who happened to drop an F-bomb on national television way back when, about 10 years ago, that profanities will slip and these things will happen. And it happened to Jarren Duran on a T-shirt in a post-game interview, which necessitated a Michael Hill in the league office sending him a note about the fact, and that letter is now displayed in his locker, warning him from Major League Baseball Senior Vice President and on-field operations Michael Hill, terrific guy, that there might be fines if this continues to happen. But if you haven't heard this story, and you should go poke around and read, and there's some great stories on it. Duran is wearing this shirt, which basically says, it'll say PG-rated, F him, talking about the demons and talking about his mental health. He says, quote, it's basically saying the phrase to the mental demons that were trying to, quote, get me to not be here anymore, telling them to basically F off. He says back off, but that's what the shirt says. He says that I can do this and that I want to be here. I'm still going to wear it under my jersey every single day because it means something to me. It's no disrespect. It's something that means a lot to me. So I've got to represent it even when I can get in trouble for it. So hide the shirt, but I love what it does, even in the weirdest way, to shine a light on men's mental health, which is just so important. I've talked about this over years and talked about the fact that I've had and was diagnosed with anxiety many years ago, and have talked with and interviewed many people who are athletes who have gone through all sorts of different things, from the Steve Saxes of the world all the way on down. And it is so important to have athletes who are putting a spotlight, male athletes especially, and it's not chauvinistic. I don't say it for that reason. Of course, it's equally important for females, but there is this idea, this stigma, that if you're a man, especially if you're an athlete, that you're not allowed to have mental health issues or have depression or have anxiety or, have problems, if you will, if you want to call it that. Whether they're clinical or whether they're temporary, whether they are, it doesn't matter. You're not allowed. You got to hush on all of that. And I think it's so important to put out there that it's okay not to be okay, even if it's in terms that have an F-bomb. So good on you, Jarren Duran. Good on the all-star starters. Those have been announced. I want to just kind of poke and prod on just a couple of thoughts on these quickly. Number one, Alec Bohm. Especially in Philadelphia, but really anywhere in this sport and in sports. When you are a guy who people start to kind of pick and prod and get on for not living up to whatever their expectations were going to be of you, whatever they thought you were supposed to be, and then you're able to go ahead and not only reach but exceed those expectations, you're in a season where your team's one of the best teams in baseball, one of the biggest stories. For Alec Bohm, this is a tremendous accomplishment for him to be named the starter. Deserved. I know it gets voted on, but deserved. And good for him, who will join Bryce Harper and Trey Turner in the infield, and more Phillies to come when we get to that pitching staff. coming up tomorrow as they do this on a Saturday. On Sunday, they'll unveil what do I call them? The extras, the reserves in the National League and the American League. Over on the NL side in the outfield, how about Jurickson Profar? Here's a guy who in his career was a 239 hitter, 320 OBP, was kind of, seen as an extra player. When he gets San Diego, it's like, okay, well, we'll use him over here. We'll use him over there. We'll bounce him around. If guys get injured, he'll have to play every day. But he's not a big piece. This isn't a cog. This is about Tatis Jr., now injured. This is about Manny Machado, the all-star himself. This is, about, think about, obviously, Bogarts, who was bad and had struggles and now is injured as well. And then not to say, obviously, Darvish and Musgrove and Sisu came in. And by the way, how many Darvish and Musgrove also with injuries? San Diego, be where they are. Different story, different podcast, but give them a lot of credit. And Mike Schultz a lot of credit. But this one's supposed to be about Jurickson Profar. But for a 239 hitter with a 320 OBP to be hitting 310, lead the league in on base at over 400 to 404. I mean, God bless, what an unbelievable season. And for him, let's see whether or not he could keep it going, because when you have a great first half after never being at that level, the question is this now you on the precipice of kind of, leveling up for the rest of your career? And this is what to expect. Or are you going to now go back to being that guy? The Padres hope not, especially with the injuries and some of the unknowns in terms of the length of Tatis and some of these other situations that are going on right now with that ball club and the health side. On the AL side, two notes I want to bring up. One, Gunnar Henderson has become one of the best players in Major League Baseball. He is a star. To think about having Henderson and Rushman and Westbrook, all these players that they have in Baltimore, and now a Jackson Holiday who is coming, the top prospect in Major League Baseball, what Burns has done on the mound, they are in such prime position now, 3 games in front in the American League East, ahead of these struggling Yankees since their dip of 5-15 in their last 20. They're in such great position at this deadline. Let's see what they do in terms of pushing. But how about Henderson, who's been brilliant? I mean, 26 home runs. Think about what he does in terms of all across the stat sheet defensively, the energy. We'll get to see him in the home run derby, but albeit with the new rules, and he'll start the All-Star game. And so will Jose Altuve, who will start for the 6th time. It's his 9th appearance overall. He's got 13 homers, got 13 stolen bases, hitting 300 plus. He's had a great year for a team that has had a resurgence themselves. Think about the Astros, right? Everybody thought they were done. Far from it. Right now, back in the mix, not only in the division, certainly wild card as well. But after everything with 2017 and all the egg on the face and everything that people wanted to say about the Astros, and there's still a who knew what and who did what, and all of those questions will be out there. But here is a Hall of Famer, and to me, a guy who's displayed himself as a Hall of Fame person and has been that way from what we have seen from A to Z across the board, and what I've seen and covered and was up close and got a chance to do over a number of postseasons and a number of Octobers, talking to tons of his teammates and talking to Dusty when he managed him and so many other people. But a guy who's been a Hall of Fame person and a Hall of Fame guy in the community in Houston and a Hall of Fame player. For him to, through all of that, a lot of people thought over the last couple of years at times, okay, well, there's a dip. He's not the same guy anymore. Well, he's certainly that dude still, and will start again at second base for the All-Star team for the American League. Again, 9th appearance, 6th start for Altuve. We're just getting started in a crazy few weeks. You got the All-Star Reserves announcement tomorrow. We'll be on that. Then you got the All-Star game and festivities coming up. And then, of course, it is the big stage, the Super Bowl for me. If you're into the prospects being cool and going after parades, and that is the trade deadline, as we are counting tick, 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 the days until that big moment for the Orioles, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Padres, the teams we've mentioned, the Phillies, those we have not. The question of to buy or to sell or to stand pat is one we will answer in the weeks to come right